Scientists do best to stay on their territory of what science is and what it can do, and not try to take religion away from people who aren't going to let go of it.
I want to finish up, Carol, with talking about some of the specific scientific proposals you make for overcoming self-deception, not just in terms of people's deeply held beliefs like religion or the paranormal. You don't touch on that that's not the focus of your book, but just the general pitfalls of cognitive dissonance. You say that one of the reasons people get into the position of justifying their harmful behavior, of deceiving themselves about their beliefs, is because they don't really know that much about how to resolve conflict. So when they get in a fight with someone, it kind of backs them into a corner and makes them more dogmatic about what they believe, about their behavior or whatever, than they normally would be. In other words, they make their opponents all bad and themselves all good.
Well, I would say that one enormous benefit of understanding how cognitive dissonance works is that as soon as you get it, you get it. You actually start seeing it at work in your own mind and in other people's. We have heard this over and over from people reading the book saying, my God, it was like looking into a mirror, and now I suddenly see something I'm doing that I never realized I had been doing. One man, for example, told me, he said, I was thinking about memories I had of my father, and I realized, just as you said, I was justifying my view of events, of quarrels with my father, and not even thinking about it from his point of view. Dissonance, it's like once we're aware of optical illusions, we know the eye will create many illusions, but we can't do anything about an optical illusion. But we can do something about our mental illusions. Once we understand how they operate and see them at work, we can stop ourselves in our tracks and say, is this decision really the wisest one? Is my interpretation of this experience the right one? Is there another way of seeing this? Can I get out of my little self-justifying spiral here, and is there something I should be looking into that I'm not? And once people get into the habit of seeing things that way, it's really something you can apply in your own life almost immediately.
We work on campuses across the country. We have this network of rationalist campus groups, and it amazes me that on every college campus there are all these campus groups, the Baptist campus group where all the Baptists hang out with just themselves, the Muslim students with just the Muslim students, the science club. There are these atheist clubs where the atheists only hang out with the atheists. You say in the book, kind of one of your proposals is that we should consciously widen our circle of acquaintances and friends to include people very unlike ourselves to reduce that us versus them mentality. You touched on this earlier in terms of surrounding yourself with advisors who disagree with you. I found that advice spot on.
Well, there's two things. There's people unlike you and people who disagree with you. Here's the thing. People like to hang out with other people who are like them. If you're a chess player or if you're a cello player or something, you're going to want to be with people who have shared interests and attitudes like yours. If you care about women's rights, if you have a political agenda of any kind, you're going to want to be with people who share your agenda. Nothing wrong with that. But if you narrow your world to people who only see things the way you do, politically or religiously, you won't budge. You won't learn anything. You won't expand your horizons. You won't learn anything about the great diversity of opinion among Muslims or among Jews or among Christians or whatever the group might be, or among atheists.
Last question. If someone has the guts to do what you're saying, examine all his or her self-deceptions, what's next? I kind of got at this earlier, but do you really think that the truth at all costs, no matter how painful, if we admit it about ourselves, it will set us free?
That's a beautiful question. Will the truth set us free? I'm in favor of truths, and I think very often they do set us free. They can be painful to acknowledge. Gee, maybe I was partly responsible for that rift in our family. Gee, maybe I did something with my patient or my client that made their problems worse rather than better. Now, there's two aspects of this that are crucial. One, for our own sake, is facing the responsibility for the thing we did that was so harmful or wrong. But second, there's no purpose in that. Might as well go along justifying it if we don't then learn something from it so that we don't keep repeating it. That is the whole purpose of trying to shatter that shell of self-justification, so that we don't keep doing it, so that it's a cliche, we should learn from our mistakes, but we can't learn from them if we don't admit that we made any. When we can see the complexity of that memory that we hold, for instance, that so-and-so did this and it was all their fault, well, maybe it wasn't. What happens then is a richness of understanding, a way of letting go of grievances and blame, and of easing many of the wounds that we've been inflicting on ourselves. You acknowledge the mistake, you forgive yourself, you bring some compassion to yourself for the thing that you did that was wrong, but then you don't repeat it. So all of those, I think, are elements of the process.
Thank you very much for joining me on Point of Inquiry, Carol Tavris.
It's been a pleasure, DJ. Thank you so much.
You've seen the headlines. Bill seeks to protect students from liberal bias. The right time for an Islamic reformation. Kansas School Board redefines science. These stories sum up the immense challenge facing those of us who defend rational thinking, science, and secular values. What one advisor to the Bush administration dismissed as the reality-based community. Who could have imagined that reality would need defenders? The educational and advocacy work of the Center for Inquiry is more essential than ever, and your support is more essential than ever. Show your commitment to science, reason, and secular values by becoming a friend of the Center today. Whether you are interested in the work of SciCop and Skeptical Inquirer magazine, the Council for Secular Humanism and Free Inquiry magazine, the Commission for Scientific Medicine, or Center for Inquiry on campus, by becoming a friend of the Center, you'll help strengthen our impact. If you're just learning about CFI, take a look at our website, www.centerforinquiry.net. We host regional and international conferences, college courses, and nationwide campus outreach. You'll also find out about our new representation at the United Nations and important national media appearances. We cannot pursue these projects without your help. Please become a friend of the Center today by calling 1-800-818-7071 or visiting www.centerforinquiry.net. We look forward to working with you to enlarge the reality-based community.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Point of Inquiry. To get involved with an online conversation and to debate some of these topics or really any other topic under the sun, go to our online discussion forums, cfi-forums.org. Views expressed on Point of Inquiry aren't necessarily CFI's views, nor the views of its affiliated organizations. Questions and comments on today's show can be sent to feedback@pointofinquiry.org or by visiting our website, pointofinquiry.org. Point of Inquiry is produced by Thomas Donnelly and recorded at the Center for Inquiry in Amherst, New York. Executive producer, Paul Kurtz. Point of Inquiry's music is composed for us by Emmy Award-winning Michael Whalen. Contributors to today's show included Debbie Goddard and Sarah Jordan, and I'm your host, DJ Grothy.